Good morning. I hope you're having a beautiful and bright day. Today's words comes from Jonah. We know the story of Jonah and the big fish, and a lot of us say that it's Jonah and the whale. We really don't know if it's a whale or not, but it could possibly be. That's a huge fish, and you could be swallowed up by it. But it says there in Jonah that in chapter 1 that the word of the Lord came to Jonah, and he says, "Look, I've got a job for you. I want you to do something for me." And Jonah didn't want to do it. Have you ever been that way? The Lord called you to do something and you didn't want to do it. Well, Jonah tried to run from the Lord. As he was running from the Lord, he winded up being over the side of a ship in the middle of the storm, and God called a big fish to swallow him up, and he was in the belly of the fish. Wow, what a story for us. Sometimes we try to run from God and we wind up in deep trouble. You know, the best thing to do is when the Lord calls us to do something, for us to go and do it. But I want to take a look here in Jonah and in chapter in the end of chapter 1 verse 17 it says, "And Jonah appointed a great fish to swallow the Lord appointed a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the stomach of the fish 3 days and 3 nights." Total darkness, smell, the stink. I could only imagine what it would be. But then it says there in verse 1 of chapter 2, "And Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the stomach of the fish, and he said," wow. I want to stop there just for a minute. Jonah, all of a sudden, the third, in the belly of the fish, we don't know if it was the third day, the first day, it just says that he started praying. You know, sometimes when we run from the Lord has to get our attention one way or the other. The Lord has to get our attention, and he gets it. Sometimes we think that it's some harsh times. I think the Lord called it tough love. And I think there's a great lesson for us there about tough love. But Jonah here tried to run from God, as we often do, even ourselves. We run from God, and you know what happened? Jonah ran right into God. Yep, that's what happened. The big fish came and swallowed him up, and Jonah was right there in the belly of the whale. And he said, "In the belly of the whale, in the deeps, in the darkest place that you or me could ever be in our lives, wherever it is, whatever we're doing, we can pray. We can turn it over to the Lord." Jonah started praying and said, "I've been wrong. Lord, I've tried it my way, and I've been wrong." And he gave it to the Lord. It wasn't a haphazard prayer. It wasn't one that I can call upon God and God will deliver me out of this and then it will be done. No, it wasn't that way at all. Jonah continued to pray to the Lord, and he says, I call out of my distress to the Lord. Have you ever called the Lord out of distress? Lord, I'm just at the point I don't know what to do. Lord, I'm just at the point that I'm ready to give up. I don't know what to do. Jonah called out to the Lord in the distress. And he says, "And he answered me. I cried from the depth of Shalom, and he heard my voice." No matter how deep, how dark, no matter where you are in life, in the belly of the fish, in the darkest place of your life, in a place that you thought you would never be, you can cry out to the Lord. Even when we know it's our mistakes, when we're stupid, no other way to put it, and we run from the Lord, we run into the Lord. And with a sincere heart, we can call out to Him at any time and anywhere, in any place, in any circumstance, any situation, and God will hear us. It says at the conclusion of that prayer, "And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah upon dry land." The Lord delivered him, but the Lord didn't leave him alone. Look there at the third. It says, "And now the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time, saying, Go to Nineveh, the great city. Go and do what I called you to do. Don't run from me. I've got it. It's all in my hands, in my control. And the Lord called to him the second time and says, I want you to go. And all of a sudden it says that it was a 3-day journey, and Jonah got there very quickly. You see, what happened was Jonah ran into God, trying to run from God. But here it says that Jonah ran with God. But the Lord is my strength. The Lord is my courage. What did he tell Joshua? Don't be afraid. Don't be dismayed. Be strong and be courageous. And that's what God tells you, and that's what God tells me. Don't be afraid. Do what I've called you to do. Maybe it's a forgiveness in your heart. Maybe it's something that you've been doing that you know that it's wrong. Listening to that kind of music that you shouldn't be listening to. Listening to the TV and watching those shows you shouldn't be listening. You see, our minds, what we put in our minds. Oh, I wish sometimes it was like the computer that we can throw it over in the trash can and then hit trash and delete and it's all gone. But it don't work that way. Jonah tried to run from God. He wound up running into God. And here it tells us that he ran with God. And with God, nothing is impossible. Put your faith and your trust in him. Run with God. Do what he has called you to do. Be a disciple for him. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day, and we'll post more later.